Hi folks, welcome back to the channel. Today we're tying Pahtakorva. I usually see these as tube flies and typically used in the Nordic countries. So here's a cut down version on a size 8 double, and hopefully it's something that will work for our Atlantic salmon here in the UK. But certainly a cool fly, really happy tying this. Let's get stuck right into it. So kicking off proceedings folks, we've got the size 8, as I said, Patriot double in the vise, getting some fire orange uni 8.0 down, couple of wraps, cutting away the excess, and then we're going to come in with a small gold oval tinsel, and this will form the tag on the fly. Run the thread and the wire down to just in front of the hooks, and then you're looking for 3 to 4 turns at the back depending on what you're looking for, and then as always come up and in between the two hooks and lock it in firmly with a number of turns, roughly to about halfway down the body. And then fold the wire back and run it all the way back down to where the tag starts, because this will form the rib on the fly also. Okay, so at this point we're going to form the first part of the body, looking for a large copper tinsel. I'm using a Mylar size 10 here. Use whatever you've got, catch this in, be very careful how you catch it in, make sure that it's going to run nice and flush up against your tag, and then run it to about halfway up the body. Once you've got your thread to where you want it, very carefully come in with a good straight turn at the back, nice and tight up against that tag. Put a lot of pressure on the tinsel is what I would recommend. You want this nice and flat, nice and firm. Don't want any fire orange showing through. If you're not happy with it, as always, go back. You won't be happy, you won't fish it. So I'm making some changes here, just readjusting and then coming up to that halfway point. And once you're happy that you've got to where you want to be, you can come in and catch this in and cut away any excess. As always, tidy up and make sure you're happy that you've got a nice flat base to then tying your next material onto. Okay, so up next part of the body, some gold brown hairline sparkle dubbing. Not as much of this, and don't go too heavy. You want this nice and tight, so continue to twist as you bring the dubbing forward. This will keep this nice and tight, and you can take away anything you don't need, but it certainly starts to build up that shape that we need for the front part of the fly. Pull away any excess that you don't need, stroke everything back, and just tidy up, ready to come up with a rib. Probably looking for 4 to 5 turns on this fly is what I would recommend. Keep them nice and even, and when you're happy you can lock this in at the front. This won't bend and break away like a normal wire, as most of you will know, so you will have to take a pair of old scissors to it. Don't use the new ones, please. Once you've got everything nice and tidy, get a bit of wax on the thread, then we're going to come in with a fire orange Chinese cock hackle, catching it with the tip, get a couple of wraps down, come back down, fold it back and catch it in for extra security. Cut away that waist end, and then certainly spend some time folding this hackle when you're ready to turn it. You want to make sure that's just nice and moving backwards, using the scissors down both sides to help fold it. But yeah, certainly spend some time with this, don't rush it, and if it's not sitting right, go back because this is your start of the platform for the main part of the fly. So you need to get this right, folks. Okay folks, so I've got 3 to 4 turns here, and as you can see it's all flowing backwards. Spent the time folding this. Create a gap, catch this in, 2 or 3 turns. Don't worry too much if you've caught in some of the fibre. It will add to the fly. You don't want tons of it obviously, but it will help you prop up the further materials you're going to use. So catch this in, chop away the excess, and then tidy up. Okay, so up next we're coming in with a small pinch of fire orange Arctic fox. As always, cut away from the base, comb out all the under fur, it'll make everything so much easier. And just catching this on top. Looking for the tips to be just off the back of the hook, don't want it to be too long. Nice sharp pair of scissors, and come in and chop this away as close to the thread as possible. And then for an additional bit of security, a little bit of super glue on the thread, and then just winding this over those cut ends, keeping everything nice and locked in. Okay, so now we're going to repeat the process but with a brown Arctic fox. You want this a little bit longer than the orange, but you want a little bit less of it, so maybe 3/4 to half of the orange. Again, coming in with some wax, you want to catch this in and just repeat exactly what you did for the fire orange. A couple of turns down and cut this nice and tight once you've got it locked in. Okay, good stuff. Now at this point I'm going to come in with 1 strand of a holographic copper tinsel which I've folded. I want this about the same length as the brown roughly, and again just catching this in with a couple of turns. Make sure it's all sitting on top, you don't want this to be ski whiff, and then look to fold those pieces back and lock this in. And then from there you can either put these down either side, depending if you want more flash or not, or cut away. Okay folks, coming in now with a fiery brown or brown Chinese cock hackle, similar to what we did with the orange, catching it on the side by the tip. Good few turns down, well waxed thread, you don't want this going anywhere. Fold it back, catch it in, and then you can cut away that tip in a similar vein to what you did with the orange. You probably want a good 3 turns to get that fibre count down. But again, spend some time with this, folding it back, make sure it's all flowing backwards and sitting nicely. Okay folks, when you're happy with the fibre count, as always create a space, catch this in, trying to catch too many of the other fibres at this point, and if you can do so, fold back the excess and get a turn or 2 in front, and that'll just lock everything in place nicely. Once you've done so, as always, cut away the excess and tidy up any misbehaving fibres that need to be dealt with. Okay, so looking not too bad at this point folks. Next we're going to come in with some black temple dog. Now, you don't want tons of this, but you certainly want to be able to see it. Very similar to the Arctic fox. Comb out the underfur, give yourself a good fighting chance of being able to tie this in. Get some wax on the thread, and you want this to be quite long. You certainly want it beyond that brown Arctic fox. So just get a nice platform to tie this in, and just tidying up those ends at this point. Don't want to catch in more than I need to, so I'm just going to cut this away to a length and then catch it in. So as always, well waxed thread folks, coming in, cut away to a length so it's nice and sharp, coming in 1 or 2 turns just to hold it, and then you can take a look at how it's sitting, which I'm quite happy with. Just putting the nail across it to flatten it, which will always help everything and certainly make the head look better, and spreads the fibre across the top of the fly. And then what you want to probably do is get a bit extra security going here and come in with a little dab of super glue. Again, try not to swimming pool the situation, just a quick dab and then wind over this, and that will lock everything in at the head nice and tight. Okay, so once you've got that sorted folks, last thing to put on is some nice jungle cock eyes. You want this flown up into the black, certainly into the orange and the brown as well. So pick your angle and get these on. Once you're happy how your jungle cock's sitting, you can fold back the tag ends and then cut them away for a bit extra security. Getting a bit of wax on the thread at this point folks, and then just building up a nice head. I want this to have a nice vivid bright head on it. And once you're happy with the head situation, you can come in with a nice whip finish. And then the last thing to do folks is get a couple of coats of varnish onto the fly and you're good to go. So there you have it folks, really enjoyed tying this one, just tidying up a little rogue fibre. As I said, different take on the Pahtakorva, but certainly will get some action on its day. Certainly really good colour combination for springtime here in the UK. And what you can also do is just run a toothbrush or a comb through the fibres and it'll blend everything nicely together and your fly will be looking top notch. If you enjoyed the video, drop a comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Be great to hear from you. Until next time, cheers.